It's the final day of SailGP Season 3. With only 3 places in the final for $1 million. After a season of racing around the globe, it all comes down to this.
Oh my word!
Anything is possible here in San Francisco.
Stand by. 0, go, go, go. 1, up. Go away. Slowly coming away. Turn. Here we go. Stay my wheel. You guys all right? Very well sound, everyone.
The time has come to crown a champion. Welcome to the finale of Season 3. This is the Mubadala SailGP Grand Final, San Francisco. And a warm welcome to the city by the bay. Today we have 2 fleet races, after which only the top 3 teams on points for the season will battle it out in a winner-take-all $1 million race on the Pacific. Alongside former world champion Emily Nagel, 2-time Olympian Stevie Morrison, and Olympic silver medalist Lisa Darmanin, I'm Todd Harris. Well, yesterday's racing on day 1 had everyone talking about what will transpire in the 2 fleet races and the big finale today.
It didn't take long for Ainsley to start hunting down Delapierre for their spot in the final.
Aggressive tactics from the British. He's already rattled the cage. Great start by Robertson, great start by Seb Schneider on board the Swiss boat.
Nice little puff around the shore here.
While Australia sailed shoreside and took a huge gain on the fleet. Behind them, it was carnage.
Great camera shots coming. Wow, from the camera sponsored by T-Mobile 5G on board the US boat there. And the French is a big moment on board France. Oh, and they've saved it though.
And it's the Aussies who sneak away and get the win in race number 1.
Race 2, everyone was on the money.
Ainsley's round the front on board Emirates Great Britain. They can make their own decision.
Yeah, pressure looks good on this leg. Bit of a lefty here. Yeah. We've got a good lead at the moment. Yeah.
It is Emirates GBR that will take the win in race number 2.
Ainsley wins another start over Contant de la Pierre.
While the British executed their master plan, Australia were way out front and took their second victory of the day.
So after 3 races on day 1, the scoreboard looks like this. A tie atop between Australia and Emirates GBR on 28 points. Then you have New Zealand sitting in 3rd with 19, Denmark on 18, even with Canada, and Switzerland, United States, France, and Spain. But as usual, the weather will have the final say.
We have the perfect forecast for a blockbuster final here in San Francisco. The sun is shining and the wind is up, averaging 27 kilometres per hour, and gusts are expected to hit 37 kilometres from the west-southwest. Yesterday was about linking the best pockets of pressure together, and today will be quite similar as the wind is very gusty and has to navigate over the hills and onto the racetrack. Historically, we have seen the shore side of the course creating opportunities for teams to extend or catch up if they get the timing right. So with that in mind, let's take a closer look at the course map for today.
Well, it's controlled aggression in the pre-start that's the key to hitting the line at full speed. Then a straight line sprint to Mark 1. Mark 1, we see the first split in the fleet as they sail off in different directions, with the teams trying to choose the fastest course to get to gate 2. At the gate, they can turn left or right, so it's a big choice to make. The leading boats are looking to select the best side of the course with the most favourable wind. The turbulent wind left behind by the leaders makes this much harder for the boats behind. Let's remember that sailboats don't sail fast unless they're sailing at an angle to the wind. So we see them zigzag their way around the course, looking for that fastest path. At each gates, the teams try to find some space to get clear wind, which will help them sail faster as they either hope to extend away or overtake the boats in front. It's going to be a test of the flight controllers out there today, how high you dare fly the boat, but if you're fast, you can look forward to finishing under the fans on the San Francisco shoreline.
And now we are less than 2 minutes away from the start of race number 4. Emily, it looks like a very windy day out in the bay.
It is looking like perfect conditions for the final day of this season. The wind's slightly further right, as Lisa mentioned, which means the wind's going to be more consistent, so we should see all the teams up on the foils more and hitting higher speeds.
Yeah, and I think this, this we're seeing there on the course about 25, 26 kilometres an hour currently. That's kind of 14, 15 knots in old sailors' money, which we'd put right in the perfect sweet spot. So all the boats should be up and foiling quite easy in the pre-start, and probably going to see a calmer approach from Emirates GBR today. They had such a good day yesterday. They're going to be a bit less focused on France, a bit more focused on themselves, but expect some tight action.
Under a minute to go as we get ready for race number 4. It is Championship Sunday here at the Mubadala SailGP Season 3 Grand Final, San Francisco. Everyone is going to want to lead this race, Stevie, and get to that Mark 1, get away from trouble, and really end Season 3 with some momentum.
Exactly right. We're looking here now at this lineup. The boats are all early back in the box. The start line to the left-hand side of screen shows us red at the moment. That'll be white when the start line's clear to go. We see Emirates GBR, they turn in late. Australia and New Zealand up the line. They have a good position here. We're right overhead. What a view of this start line here. Emirates GBR looking good. Who's going to get their timing right as we come in? Australia foiling. Let's watch what happens. Emirates GBR lined up well here. Canada lined up well as well, and Australia's timing at the top of the line. They're going to have the fastest angle towards Mach 1. How's your timing up at the top of the line there, Tom Slingsby? Watch for the lines turn white. Oh, they're all on the money, but out of the middle of the line, it's Canada, Australia, and at the bottom, a close incident between USA, and there at the bottom, hopefully everyone's okay on that start, but Canada are going to lead the fleet into Mark 1 unless Tom Slingsby can get that roof flying in fast.
As they approach mark number 1, it is an absolute drag race. Who has the inside line? And right now, it looks like the Canadians will lead at Mark 1 here in race number 4.
Brilliant start from Phil Robertson, but Tom Slingsby, well, of the finalists, or the wannabe finalist, he looks pretty good from here. Good news for Emirates GBR in third as the French look to turn away. But Phil Robertson, there is an event inside the event here, Todd. The first after 5 races has got a nice prize money purse to take, and there's going to be a lot of competition for that.
The regatta win here in San Francisco, but the big prize comes up in the final race of the day. That's a $1 million race between only the top 3 point getters on the season.
Canada flying downwind at the moment, 65 kilometers an hour, 40 miles per hour, 32 knots for all the different numbers.
Early to turn though, Emily. There we see the Canadians have turned. They've spun away. They had that great boat speed that you mentioned, but as we look here in the distance to lead, it's GBR. They were first to turn. Coming down the middle of the course, there's a little bit more adverse current on that San Francisco shoreline. It's kind of like a treadmill. It's going from left to right on the screen. They've got off the treadmill. They're in more favourable water on Emirates GBR. And Ben Ainsley, well, he had a great day yesterday and he's come out the blocks, reading the conditions well. When he turns, he'll have the right of way, but I think Canada might be doing enough right now to hold on to that lead.
And they are certainly flying high, Emily. We saw those ride heights. Let's see, go back to the start here with the USA.
Oh, my word, Jimmy Spittle, he didn't have the rights to turn. Couldn't have seen Rockwool Denmark coming in. And there's contact there. Hopefully no much too damage to the boat. Sehested, look at this. He turns away last minute. But there on board the boat, Jimmy Spittle. Must be a miscommunication on that US boat for an incident like that to happen. But back with the racing live, we can see it was Canada. They did well on that shoreline and perhaps in more of an intense battle for the overall season. Ben Ainsley's GBR rolling over the top of Australia. Is that going to be the scene that we see in roughly an hour's time for now, when it will be for $1 million?
Led 2 of 6 as they approach the bottom gate. They'll make the turn back up. It is Canada that has the lead. Emirates GBR sits in second, and look at the Australians. They bear away, so it'll be interesting to see how those tactics play out for Tom Slingsby.
It's tight on the inside there. Switzerland have the inside of Spain. Good job by Diego Botin, gives Seb Schneider room. The Swiss round inside. They're in 5th, but we're going to learn a lot about the course here. Canada turn in towards the shoreline. GBR in 2nd. But who's got the right here? Who's got the most wind? Slingsby offshore or Phil Robertson closer to the shore? We'll learn a lot about the race course in the next 2 minutes.
Denmark and the USA bringing up the rear after that incident will make sure that they're okay. No damage done to the boats, but it's Canada, GBR, Australia now moving to 2nd place ahead of the Brits, and France now moving up to 4th.
All right, 10 should be ahead. Very close. Ben mid-jib now.
There we go. So the right of way with Australia. It's going to be tight with Emirates GBR again here. If it's tight, Emirates GBR must avoid contact. Turns the boat away behind the Australians. And now it's a real test of boat speed up this leg here. The Canadians are doing a great job of hanging in, but it's Australia heading back towards the San Francisco shoreline. There should be more favourable current, but is there more favourable wind that way for the Australians? In that low drag mode there, Todd. We see them all kneeling down, and of course yesterday I said I didn't think Slingsby was allowed to do that. I checked my rule book. Tom Slingsby confirmed for me overnight, and they are allowed that low drag position.
Canada's sailing really well at the moment. They're the fastest boat out on the course, 61 kilometres an hour average speed. Really important to note as well, we don't have the numbers here, but they are getting an even wind speed across the course, so a lot more stable than it was yesterday.
And they love the consistency. So Australia now in 1st place. France has moved up to 2nd, with Canada in 3rd and Great Britain in 4th. Stevie, this is the performance that France needed yesterday.
Well, yeah, hindsight's a beautiful thing, isn't it, Todd? And, you know, maybe too little too late for content. He's not had the direct attention of Ben Ainsley's Emirates GBR to do it. But I think what's interesting is for those that are watching SailGP for the first time, these boats, despite being different colours, they're all identical. So Emily just said the wind was a lot more steady today than yesterday. That means with these identical boats, it's all about the sailors on board the boat and how well they can use the equipment. And right now, Slingsby, he's made some distance back on the Canadians, but it's Canada with the right of way. Close dip there behind, and it's Canada hanging on by the skin of his teeth on board the Crazy Canucks there. But he's going to be now lacking the right of way when he comes back with Australia. But has he found more wind? Can the Canadians stretch from here?
Canada not in the running to make the grand final later today. That's the last race of the day where only the top 3 teams will battle it out for the $1 million and the overall season title. But you've got Canada, Australia, France, GBR, Denmark, your top 5.
Ladder line there showing us that the Canadians have got a roughly 100-metre lead at the moment, but the thing is changing all the time. It's a very dynamic situation. We can see France up to 2nd, but I think the Australians will be looking quite good when they turn, and there should just be one more turn for the Australians before this upwind gate, and we've seen it can be quite crucial. Who leads at gate 3 often extends away to take a good lead in the race. Here we go. Sorry, Todd, but I was just going to say when Australia attack, they're turning the boat through the wind here. They're going to be parallel to that yellow line. That should mean they make gate 3 with no more manoeuvres. They have the right of way. Canada must gate clear, but can either of them make it in one more go?
Calm voices as we get ready for some chaos here at the top of the course. This will be gate number 3 as they make their way around. This is a 6-leg race. This is race number 4, race number 5 coming up, and then the grand final where only the top 3 teams will battle it out here in the Pacific.
Canada and Australia will make it through with no more turns, but will the Australians choose to take another turn and move away from the Canadians? Yes, they do. Who's going to see more wind here? They both round at an identical time, and it's all about who's found the most wind for this downwind leg. If you find more wind, you're going to go faster. GBR up to 3rd. It's tight in the pack, but at the moment, the Australians and the Canadians are doing a masterful job.
Well, yesterday it was the Australians and the Brits that dominated. Australia winning races 1 and 3. Emirates GBR winning race 2, and also a 2nd place in race number 3 as they surpass France on the overall standing. So right now, the way it is going to be Australia, New Zealand, and Emirates GBR in that grand final unless something major happens.
Go. Canada on that shoreline, we just saw them there. The Australians, they've turned the boat downwind. They're in a nice position, keeping it tight with Great Britain here. Slingsby won't want the confidence going over to the British crew. Slingsby talks about being a confident sailor, so I expect to see him through the day continue to push. He won't want to go into this final undercooked, and right now 50 metres behind the Canadians, but still 100 metres ahead of that Great British boat.
Wind speed hovering right around 25 kilometers an hour. For a report on the conditions down on the water, we send it down to Lisa Darmanin.
The differences between the gusts and lulls aren't as big as we've seen in previous days, so it is about the little gains out here. Those extra meters are really counting when the boats come together. So I don't think you need to be a hero out here. You just need to take the little wins, and that's why we're seeing the leaders are not extending as much as other days. So yeah, really tight racing out here, and it's just looking fabulous.
And Stevie, I know they're all very competitive, but is a Tom Slingsby, Ben Ainsley, are they thinking about Peter Burley? Are they thinking about the championship? It's kind of going into championship mode and not pushing it too much?
I don't think either of them are not pushing it, but I'm certainly noting that Tom Slingsby's not wanting to give Ben Ainsley on board Emirates GBR an inch of space. He wants to make sure he's right in front of him the whole time. Trying to get Ben Ainsley used to seeing the back of his boat, because if that's what happens as the day goes on, then obviously Tom will be very, very happy.
They are the two-time defending and reigning champions. Australia currently right now sitting third in race number 4. But they have already punched their ticket into today's final race, the grand finale.
Here we go. We heard Phil Robertson a moment ago on the onboard comm say he liked this turn away from the shore. He felt the Australians gained on the first upwind leg. He's learnt his lesson, and this Canadian boat turns away. The Canadian crew doing a fantastic job on board that boat. They looked a little ragged yesterday, but they're sailing the boat well today. They're fast, and right now they've got the Australians behind them, and Phil Robertson's going to be keen to keep them there. One more upwind leg, and then a short reach leg to the finish. Not a lot of this race left here, Todd.
Top of the course, and then it'll be a hard left, and they'll be right on shore, so the fans there will get a great view of the winner of race number 4, and race number 5 will come shortly thereafter. As Australia turns away, Canada looks go to the top of them. Stevie, is this a situation where Phil Robertson's going to try to send some dirty air if he can get a better angle on Australia?
Here we go. It looks like it's gone pretty well for the Australians again here, Emily. They look like a small gain on the Aussies. Oh, sorry, on the British.
Yeah, coming out on that right-hand side didn't leave a lot of room for the Brits there after a really good downwind performance. We saw the Brits downwind gain back the distance. They were the fastest, 63 kilometers an hour. But after the rounding, ended up going inshore and into a lighter patch. We saw them drop off the foils briefly before coming back out offshore.
We're always learning about the course here, but right now we can see Australia. They're going pretty fast. They're showing us 50 metres ahead of the Canadians. When they turn on board Australia, they need to be sure they can cross clear ahead of Canada, because it's Canada that have the right of way. This is a tight moment. We go on board here with the British boat as they manoeuvre the boat here. They're in a lot of space. It'll be very interesting when we see the boats coming back together. Nice manoeuvre there. Australia have turned. No, he has to turn the boat away aggressively from the Canadians. He just can't quite get past. Now he's going to have to watch out for the French. That could be costly for Slingsby. They've got really slow. Look at the boat speed at the top of the mast. 43 kilometres an hour versus 45. Canada turn on the boundary. France have the right of way again. I think the French are ahead of the Canadians here. It's a tight race on this final upwind leg as Ainsley moves past Slingsby.
Quentin Delapierre of France, they were mired back in 5th place. Now they have moved into 1st place with this final leg and then the left-hander to the finish line. And this is the performance that the French needed yesterday as they dropped so many points. Remember, they had a terrible first day, finishing in 6th place. The next race they finished in 8th, and then the final race of the day finished in 6th.
On board the Australian boat there, we see they had to turn away. Tash Bryant grabbing the wheel there, had to do an aggressive turn as Tom Slingsby was on the other side of the boat. We see Tom there, runs across, they change back over, and well, right now it's the British have found a good wind shift. The wind has rotated to the right. That means the Brits have sailed less distance on this upwind leg, and at the moment they've gained, but plenty of gulf left in this. 500 metres to go. France and Australia. Australia have the right of way. What does Delapierre do? He looks like he's going to try and push across to me. What a tight moment there. Oh, that was so close.
I think what's important to remember with these crosses is France, they've got nothing to lose.
Right.
They might as well push for every cross they can. Australia cannot afford any damage. So they're probably going to be safer on all of these crosses.
Oh, another close one.
I'm not sure Ben Ainsley can afford any tight crosses either. Everyone, I think we've just answered your question, Todd. These teams are pushing the very limits here. Now, look, Mark 5 looms large. It's going to be a tight rounding. France coming in. They have the right of way at the moment. How do the British boat look on them?
Penalty GBR, relative Australia. Forward boat not keeping clear.
That was that cross just a moment ago. That's going to be costly for Ainsley. Now, he's got to drop behind the Australian boat to clear his penalty. It's really complicated here. France will lead at Mark 5. They're in good shape. Canada are going to be a late player in this, along with Denmark. That yellow circle, if Canada can get inside that before Great Britain, they're allowed to turn inside. Great Britain have to wait for the Australians. What a costly penalty for Ainsley. Too aggressive late in the race. Canada are going to get through to second, and we could get the Australians passing Britain as well. What a disaster for Emirates GBR.
So France comes out swinging on day number 2, Championship Sunday. But is it too little too late for Quentin Delapierre and French? But the French come across the finish line, and it's C'est Magnifique once again. Quentin Delapierre gets the win in race 4.
Brilliant result for them, but back in the pack, the Canadians look like they were off the foil. They were. Denmark dived through. Slingsby's gone round the outside. Disaster for Canada. They just got really slow on that final mark. Who's going to get it on the line here, Todd?
And it looks like Australia just gets ahead of Denmark. So it's France, Australia, Denmark, your top 3.
Oh, did you hear the Aussies there? How much that meant to Slingsby. That's 2 points advantage over the British in terms of this race for the event win here in San Francisco. Let's forget about the championship. We've got a tight battle for the Grand Prix event here in San Francisco. One more race left in that. That will decide the winner here in San Francisco before we go on to the championship final 3-boat race, which I think we might find out now has almost been set in stone as to who can make that final.
Difficult day for the Americans to start things off as they had that incident at the start line. We'll have to find out if there was any damage done to their boat or that of the Danes. The Americans finish in 7th place with Spain coming across in 8th, and the Swiss will finish in 9th at the bottom of the heap. So a quick time to catch your breath. Rib crews will come on board and they will check things out, and then it's back to racing for one final fleet race in season 3. That's where the whole fleet will be racing, and then it'll be off to the grand final. And that's only the top 3 teams that will race out for the $1 million prize and the trophy as season 3 SailGP champion. There are the French, Stevie. This is the performance. This is what they needed to start things off, and they just could not deliver on Saturday. So now they've dug themselves, quite honestly, a hole too large to get out of.
Well, with the British boats sailing as well as they are, and all the other boats sailing so well it was, but all they could do is come out, restore a bit of French pride, and that was a fantastic performance under the pressure there.
Let's take a look at the results, and these are provisional because of the contact made at the start line. France gets the win. Australia holds on for 2nd place, just ahead of Denmark and Nikolai Sehested. Emirates GBR plays it safe. Ben Ainsley comes in 4th with Canada in 5th. New Zealand still lurking in there. Peter Burling in 6th, and then the United States 7th, Spain in 8th, Switzerland in 9th. And remember, these are provisional results in race 4 because of the contact at the start.
And looking back at how that contact actually happened. So here we can see that USA originally are set up aiming towards the middle of the line, while Spanish and Danish are towards the bottom. About 10 seconds out, they decide that actually they're going to go below Emirates just ahead of them. At the same time, the Danish are heading for the same gap. Clearly they didn't see each other because that space had only room for 1 boat, not 2. Unfortunate error, but hopefully no one was injured and no boats damaged.
What a way to start Championship Sunday here at the Mubadala SailGP Season 3 Grand Final, San Francisco. One more fleet race to go until Season 3 is complete.
It's tight. The New Zealand boat needs to stay in that yellow circle. Now, could now be a protest back from Australia. Burling pushing the limit there. That could well go to the umpires because he needed to stay in the circle, and it was certainly tight. It's a sprint in here. Has Burling managed to get 3rd from Slingsby? I think he does. Oh, if the umpires don't have anything to say, I think what a brilliant move at the finish there by Burling. He pushed the limit there. France must keep clear. France has to give him room. There goes Delapierre. Late reactions. This opens the door for Burling. New Zealand will have an opportunity here. Look at the speed. Going nearly 3 times the speed on board New Zealand. It's going to be a sprint across to the finish.
One boat length separates them in race number 1, and as they come to the line, it will be the Canadians that take the win here in Plymouth as New Zealand comes from 3rd to grab 2nd.
They're hoiling too high. They've lost it. They've lost it here. It's going to be really tight. They've got the windward rudder out of the water. Can they save it? It's a sprint.
It's a full-on drag race to the finish line, the 3rd and final race of the day. Phil Robertson on the inside line, pushing Tom Slingsby, the defending champion, to the outside as they come to the line, and it will be the Crazy Canucks that cross the line just barely ahead of the Aussies for the win.
Expect an aggressive move from the Americans coming.
Classic match race in the final gate. It's the Americans on the inside, the French on the outside.
It's going to be a sprint now. They're both off the foils, Todd. It's a sprint to the foils, and there's the finish line coming into view.
Separated by just a few meters. With the finish line there, who will get the win as they come to the line here in Spain? And it will be France getting their first victory in SailGP St. Magnifique.
Oh, they blur.
Back in San Francisco, and that is the hardware everyone is battling for here at the Mubadala SailGP Season 3 Grand Final. Who will walk away with the title? Will Australia make it 3 in a row, or will someone step up and take it away from them? Beautiful day to watch the world's best sailors as we take a look at points. Stevie, everyone doing math, and right now, if the final was right now, this is who'd be in, and these are the points they'd have.
It is, and I think the way the overall points are set up now, this is what we can expect to be the final. I think New Zealand, if they had an absolute disaster in this final race, potentially with France winning, but I'm pretty sure that that's now going to be fairly set in stone. So it's kind of a case of setting up for the overall event win. That's what we want to be looking at, and then it's going to be who can get the momentum. I'm convinced it's about momentum getting into that grand final.
Everyone wants to know what the points are, but they also want to know what the weather will be in this next race.
Well, right now I'm out near where the crowds are, and there's just not much wind out here. So I think that it's all about pressure out here. The right-hand side, so out to sea, it looks like plenty of wind. So to me, that tells me the left turn at the first gate is really critical for the sailors. And I think that's how you can advance throughout the race. So it is tricky out here. There is opportunity for overtaking, but it seems to me a pattern is emerging, and there is one way to go. So it'd be interesting to hear what the sailors have to say.
Well, fortunately, we get to go down in the water with race winner there, race winner of race 4, the skipper of France SailGP, Quentin de la Pierre. Quentin, must have been a difficult evening last night, but so good to see the comeback you've made. The team have regrouped. What were the lessons you took overnight?
I mean, yesterday was tough battling with Ben Hensley and his crew, and I think we struggled so much to take the start. And today, it's I think we are a little bit more free, and it's more easy to sail our proper way.
Well, Quentin, thank you for joining us. It's been a fantastic season for you, and let's see if you can go out and sign off in race 5 with style. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Thanks, Stevie.
Coming up on 4 minutes to go before the start of race number 5. This will be the last fleet race of Season 3, and we'll see who walks away with the title, but it'll be very close. As Lisa pointed out, the weather just a little bit lighter than the earlier race. So with one final fleet race left in Season 3, what are the drivers anticipating out on the water, as there is still work to be done before the grand final? Everyone's scheming to figure out where the fastest line is on this tricky track in San Francisco.
It comes down to one race. We're by no means thinking we're going to just go out there and blitz it. We're in for a battle, and anything can happen out there, but at this point in time, we're as prepared as we can be.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot longer course than a lot longer and more open than we're traditionally used to, and San Francisco is a pretty shifty venue as well, so there's some huge gains and losses at times. It's been pretty hard to pass. I think definitely a fair bit of priority on that start for the last race.
We've still got a bit of work to do to get ourselves into that final race, but we were sailing the boat well. I think the team was dealing with the pressure well. We've just got to keep executing, and of course that final race is about sailing the perfect race. That's what we've got to focus on.
it'll be massive for us to be able to take a win. You know, it's our second season here. We feel like we've stepped up massively from the first season, and just super excited about having the opportunity to go out there and give it our all today.
Yeah, obviously the goal's to win. We don't mind a bit of prize money. That would be pretty nice.
Prize money to the tune of $1 million to the winner of the final race here in San Francisco, as we are under 2.5 minutes to go before the next race. All right, Emily, you heard from the drivers. You've seen what happened in race number 4. What do you anticipate in race 5?
I think all the teams are still going to be flying out the blocks. Obviously, our top 3 teams are going to want to conserve their boats as much as they can, but at the same time, this race will ultimately decide our event winner. And right now, Australia lead by 2 points over GBR, so I still expect a bit of a battle out there.
So the full fleet for the next race, 150 to go before the start of race number 5. Stevie, did you gather anything for those interviews that we just heard from those drivers about what you can anticipate? Because this is the incident everyone's talking about at the start of race 4.
Yeah, a bit of a look back, and we can see how close and quickly things can happen. And we've heard see that coming into the right of screen. Jimmy Spittle on board USA. He didn't have the right of way. He had to keep clear. So he's been awarded 8 penalty points by the umpire team. We've just heard that for the event here in San Francisco. So that, effectively ends his hopes of a good result here, which is very unfortunate. I mean, I'm sure we'll get the debrief afterwards, but this just, the racing's tight. Everyone's very good. They're all racing hard, and yeah, bit of a big mistake.
1:12 to go before the start of the 5th race. That's the entire fleet, and then it gets whittled down to just 3 for the $1 million race here on the Bay.
Coming back to Emily's point in a moment, I think the real key race here is for New Zealand. For New Zealand, it's a really, really hard race, I think. They've not found any momentum in the pre-starts, and I think they want to get a good result going into this grand final race. So I think Australia and Great Britain, maybe they'll be in that preserve mode, but I'm not sure Tom Slingsby and Ben Ainsley have that in their headspace. So expect fireworks from New Zealand on this start line. They need to start to put a mark down ahead of the $1 million race. But the boats are all lined up here. We swing round behind the fleet. New Zealand are aggressive. They're up on the foils, coming down across the fleet. Great view behind the start line here. Looks like New Zealand are going to try and start in the middle to the top of the screen. Australia, they're well lined up for time with 16 seconds to go. Everyone looking a little bit early back towards the start line. It's tight on the left-hand side of our screen here. But New Zealand and Australia are up the line. They're well set up. Canada are going to be good again. Watch your timing as the line goes white. What's going to happen? Great start there by Canada, but right-hand side of screen, Australia sailed New Zealand off the start. Another mistake in the pre-start by Burling. He needs to improve that. But it's Jimmy Spittle fast out of the blocks, and he's going to be pressed by Phil Robertson and Diego Botan on Spain as they race to Mark 1.
Race number 5 is on here in San Francisco, and it's the Americans leading the herd. Here we go, mark number 1, Jimmy Spithill, and USA SailGP out in front.
It's a good control, alt-delete reset by the USA boat there. They lead Spain as well. Good mark rounding for them, but they've got Canada breathing down their neck. In the background, we see first to turn away, it's Emirates GBR. That's worked well for them this weekend. They're going to find some space. They can sail their own race. They will be fast as we see the rest of the fleet chasing in front of the fans here. What a view the fans have got on the shoreline there. But it's all about the lineup for gate number 2. Emirates GBR have got space at the minute, but will they find more wind?
And here we have that win. So USA on the shore side of the course, 29 kilometers an hour of breeze. Meanwhile, GBR currently further offshore. They're in less, 22 kilometers an hour of pressure. So we'll see if that early jibe works for them or not.
A little hectic right now as the fleet has not separated by much at all. Everyone within 200 meters of each other. This is leg 2 of 6. This is the final fleet race, and then the big final coming up shortly thereafter with only the top 3 teams. Right now, the USA, Stevie, having a great run here. This is what they needed yesterday.
Yeah, it looks like all the boats that went in towards the San Francisco shoreline have found a little bit more wind at the moment. GBR didn't make any real gain from that maneuver there. But yeah, USA, Canada, they're well set up here as we approach gate 2. And the Australians, it's going to get tricky for them as all the boats turn back towards them. Australia will be the boat that must keep clear.
A very vulnerable position here, obviously.
I will.
I agree, Tom. He's in a tricky one. He's done a nice job. Here we go. Late turn in front of the French as we see things setting up at the bottom of the course. The USA well positioned for gate 2. Last race, Todd, most of the boats preferred to turn left and come away from the San Francisco shoreline. It'll be interesting to see tactically what the boats do at the bottom of the course here.
They will be inside.
And for those teams, Emily, that already know they're into the final, namely Australia and New Zealand, how much of this is just a practice or a warm-up for what they'll be competing for that $1 million race?
I think the word that Stevie has used over and over is momentum.
Here we go, and it's tight. I don't know about that. Look at this, how tight it is there. Spain have the inside, but Emirates GBR tried to dive inside. Aggressive tactics from Ainsley. It'll be interesting to see if he chooses to put that one in the umpire's hands. Slingsby's got around the outside, but he should have been able to give room to Emirates in there. That was a tight, tight moment in the race, and they're certainly racing hard to just take...
This is the umpire's penalty. Australia, relative GBR, didn't give room at the mark.
Chief umpire Craig Mitchell doling out the penalty to Australia.
Well, it's not always that I agree with Craig, but I felt that one was right. Look, left-hand side of screen, though, New Zealand, another unforced error at the mark. They've fallen off the foils, trying to find themselves some space. The New Zealand boat's not quite up to form just yet.
Well, it looks good from the helicopter, and they're racing extremely tight, Stevie. That's 4 boats within that circle, all trying to take that same real estate. But on board, it was even better. It was absolute chaos and extremely hectic on the comms.
At the moment, we're seeing boats on both sides of the course dropping off the foils.
Here we go, on board Australia. You can see here he's preparing. He's got Emirates GBR coming in late. We can see there Slingsby. He almost didn't seem to see Ainsley until too late. He thought he was easy around the outside. He wasn't, and he's got a penalty now. But the penalty's clear. He dipped behind Emirates GBR, but both boats are back in the pack here. In fact, all 3 finalists are near the middle back of the fleet. And I'm not convinced that's because they're trying to be there. The Aussies are really not holding back, given the situation we've got in the event.
So this is race number 5. Canada leads. The USA sits in 2nd. Denmark in 3rd. France in 4. And this is the race to the grand final. As it stands right now, Emily, Australia, they've already locked their position in, but New Zealand and Great Britain pretty much cemented their spot.
They have. What I think is the more interesting battle at the moment is this race is going to determine who wins the event here in San Fran. Forget about the grand final for a moment. There's actually a really tight battle here between the British and Aussies for the San Fran prize.
And as you said, momentum is a huge situation, but again, the weather is always the big calling card on what it will deliver for that grand final and for the remainder of this race. And for that, we check in down on the water with Lisa Dormanin.
Well, the wind has come a little bit more unstable than we saw in the previous race, but, you know, it's the same game. It's about linking it all together. It is getting a little bit choppier out here as the tide accelerates, so the teams are also having to adapt to that in terms of their ride height and their maneuvers out here in San Francisco.
All right, thank you, Lisa. Leg 3 of 6. This is race number 5 as we get ready for the grand final. But to Emily's point, there's still a battle within the battle. Someone's going to walk away with the title, the Mubadala SailGP Regatta Championship, and then the top 3 boats on the season will fight for that $1 million championship race. So the USA now out in front by over 100 meters on Canada. Denmark coming into view, and that's interesting because the USA and Denmark had that little get-together in the start of race number 4, if you were with us for the start of our broadcast, and the left back end of the USA just smashing into the Danes, but it looks like all boats are okay.
There's a French boat turn. I like the results on the left there, Todd. USA, Denmark, Canada, Australia, France. I think what's been so good about season 3 in SailGP is the depth in the fleet. Any one team, if they get out in front, can sail away and win a race. Jimmy Spittle, he's not had the best regatta here, but if he can sign off with a win, he's going to see that as some serious momentum as they head out of season 3 and into season 4.
A lot of parity so far across the 10 events that we've had here in season 3, and it's going to get a little bit crazy down there as we come up on the next gate. This one's sponsored by Near here in race number 5, leg 3 of 6, and it's the Americans that are first there.
It's going to be tight between Canada and Denmark. The Canadians are across ahead here, no problem. Denmark split the course. It's tight in the race there, but I think now the USA are well set as they sail off downwind. They've got to thread their way through the fleet still coming up to gate number 3, and that's another challenge for the crews, but they've got the right of way on board USA. Everyone's got to keep out of their way, and things are now well set.
Australia are round before the British team. That's good for them in terms of winning this event here.
$300,000 for the event winner, Emily, so that is not bad change there. Plus, if you could double down, win the event, plus win the grand final, you're looking at $1.3 million into the Stevie Morrison coffers.
If only. If only. I haven't done any deals with Tom Slingsby, unfortunately. But I think most importantly, Tom, last year, he did win both. He won the event here in San Francisco, then took the grand final. And again, sport is so much about momentum, and especially for a sailor like Tom Slingsby, who just is so driven by confidence and form. And he's sailing well here, but sailing really well today. The Canadian boat, they're chasing down here hard. They're going to take the lead. He's got the right of way. Jimmy Spithill swerves out the way to avoid a collision. And there you go, Phil Robertson's Canadian boat. Chris Draper, wing trimmer there. He's got that wing set up very aggressively down here, and they're going fast as they sail down towards gate number 4.
The top three all sailing really well. In that last leg, we saw Canada with the highest average speed, 54 kilometers an hour. The Danish actually sailing significantly less distance than the leading two teams. I mean, we can see here they're catching up pretty quickly by aiming straight at the bottom gate.
Good example of, I just imagine they're in more wind there. If you get yourself in a bit more wind, you start going a lot faster, and it is a gusty wind. It is affected by that land we can see behind us there. And if you find a gust of wind, you're going to get going a lot faster. Right now, here we go. It's close at the bottom of the course here. Right of way is with the United States and Jimmy Spithill. Phil Robertson needs to be confident that he's ahead of the States here.
How much of his decision-making will Stevie be on the fact that he has the right of way?
Well, Jimmy knows he can hold straight, so he's going to be making any decision he wants, and it's Phil Robertson that's got to judge if he can be clear ahead. He wasn't, he's dipped behind, but he was clearly happy to take the left turn at the bottom. Historically, that's gone quite well today. Jimmy turns right, Canada turns left. This is the final upwind leg here of race 5 in San Francisco, and who's going to get the win in the last race? Fourth place for Australia at the bottom gate. That's the battle for the event win here, being chased down. We can expect an aggressive move from Ainsley. He's trying to split away. There you go. Round the mark, straight into another manoeuvre. That's a manoeuvre called a JK. They turn the boat into the wind, split away. What he's trying to do there is get separation from the Australians. He doesn't want to follow. If he follows, he'll be in turbulent wind and he'll just go slower. But Todd, New Zealand in 7.
Yeah, that's suspect. You talk about momentum, and the rumor is that Pete Burling in New Zealand may be sandbagging, saving it for the grand final, but that doesn't give you a lot of momentum.
I just think, I mean, to be able to turn it on for one race, and I know, you know, there's a lot of talent out there on the water, but I think I'd want to know I was hitting the start line well. I'd want to know I was making good race decisions. No saying Pete and Blair and the crew can't turn it on in this final, but I'm surprised to see them sandbag this much, if that's what they're doing.
Leg 5 of 6 here on race number 5. It's Canada, USA, Australia, your top 3.
Really big gains there for the Australian team by going offshore. Definitely lighter pressure on their inner shore, seeing the USA team drop down into 3rd place.
If we've seen that, that's going to be good news for Australia against Great Britain as well, because Great Britain chose to head back towards the shoreline before Australia, and it does look like a big game for Slingsby.
I'm just going for the Canada. Okay, good person here.
Goes Slingsby standing up to have a look. I think right now he probably likes what he sees. Yes, he does. He's chasing this Canadian boat down. Australia has the right of way. Phil Robertson needs to be sure he's ahead. It's going to be tight. Robertson, we know will push. Oh, I imagine there'll be questions asked on that one. That was tight, that is for sure. But now, Robertson heading away from the San Francisco shoreline. He now needs to watch out for the United States, and it's Slingsby heading towards the shore side, where there has been less wind. Is this Ainsley's chance to get back in the race?
This is,
All right.
Yeah, he did it.
this is the umpire.
I can't see anything. Yeah, all clear.
Okay, that was going back to that incident. Phil Robertson tried to push across in head, a little bit back to Emily's point. Nothing to lose. Phil Robertson happy to push hard. He's got a penalty, but he's already dropped behind Australia, so that penalty's clear. Now when they come back together, the Canada will have the right of way. So let's hope this is going to be really, really tight here. That yellow line, that's the line. If they're sailing along that line, it means they make the next mark, Mark 5, with no more manoeuvres. We're listening in on Australia at the moment here as they manoeuvre the boat into Mark 5.
Jimmy might be inside, but... Copy. Down forward.
It is an absolute drag race to mark number 5. This is it. Australia, the USA, are they on a somewhat of a collision course? The Aussies look like they're going to get to the circle first, and they do, so they have the right of way. The USA will tuck into second place.
Clear around the head there.
Wow.
It was a really tight moment. Jimmy's managed to get back past the Canadians, but Canada are foiling, and they're going to get through on the inside. USA fall off the foils in the manoeuvre, but it's going to be Australia that take the event win here, Todd.
Australia, with all the momentum in the world, the two-time reigning and defending champions, win race number 5.
Well, if you want to go into a final with confidence, Todd, that is how you go about it on board the Australian boat. Canada, their great finish to their season. Jimmy Spittle's US crew, well, it's not been a season they'll be too happy with, but it's nice to finish with a good result for them there. And here we go.
Well, this was the battle we focused on so much yesterday. Great Britain and France. Remember, coming into this event, it was France that had the 1-point lead on Great Britain, but after yesterday's performance, Great Britain took that spot away, and now they are into the grand final.
Well, it's all about to get a bit serious, Todd.
Yeah. Fans, look at that. It doesn't get much better than that. This is such an iconic place to race, Stevie, and it allows the fans to have that stadium-like situation.
Well, I felt a year ago we were a little bit robbed of the classic final. We didn't get the wind that we had on day 1, but you can't ever guarantee the weather. We're powered by nature, of course, in SailGP. We rely on that turning up, and today Mother Nature's turned up. We're in one of the great stadiums for sailboat racing. We've got the best sailors in the world, and I think we might be about to watch the biggest sailboat race in 2023.
So the win in race number 5 goes to Australia, with Canada finishing in second, the USA in third. Switzerland still learning the ropes of this tricky bay racing, as they will finish in 9th place. And so the entire fleet is in safe and sound, which means Season 3's fleet racing is complete. It all comes down to this one final race between the top 3 points getters. Well, for some of these teams, Stevie, it's going to be a quick debrief and then back to racing mode.
Yeah, well, here we go. I mean, we see there the Australian boat. They've put in a brilliant performance here, and that's the overall.
When you see that many ones in your column, you're doing really well. Australia winning races 1, 3, and 5 for 47 points. Great Britain was consistent across the board. Their worst race was a 5th that we just saw, but that gives them 41 points. In Canada, strong showing from them, 33 points even with Denmark. The USA tried to salvage with a 3rd, but they will finish in 8th overall. And that's how the San Francisco Regatta will end, with Australia on top. Wow, take a deep breath, everybody, and enjoy this beautiful setting as the event standings go this way. Australia gets the full 10 points and the win, plus the $300,000. Emirates GBR finishes in 3rd. Emirates GBR in 2nd. Canada in 3rd, with the USA finishing a disappointing 8th.
Well, here we are, the key moment, and well, it was really a tight moment at the bottom here. Emirates GBR, they're on the inside as both the boats arrive at the circle. Australia has to give Emirates GBR room in that situation, but we heard on board Tom Slingsby didn't actually see the British coming in. He was so focused on the Spanish boat that he knew he had to give room to, that he missed out on the Emirates boat. And well, it's a massive moment in the race. Of course, we just don't want these boats coming together. We don't want them coming together at any stage, but certainly ahead of the grand final that we're about to have take place. But the Australians have been pushing so hard. We see here Phil Robertson really throwing it across the front, and I think Tom Slingsby, we know he's all about momentum. He's going to push. He's been pushing all day. He's sailing fearlessly, and that boat is going fast. But yeah, it's got to hand it to him. He's not afraid to take a few risks out there, even with everything that is on the line today. He's still driving 100%. Hammer is absolutely down, and I think you're going to get a chance to go down on the water and have a little word with Tom now, Todd.
So Australia finishes Season 3 with 94 points. We go on board Australia SailGP. Tom, as the 2-time reigning and defending champions, you're back here again. You have all the experience in the world. How is this year different from the previous 2?
Well, yeah, for me, the job's not done, unfortunately, and for all of us. We know the rules of SailGP. We've got to win this final race, but yeah, look, I said to the team this morning, no matter what happens, I'm so proud of what we've done here this year. And again today we've just won the San Francisco event, and now we've got the last one. But yeah, regardless of the result, I'm really proud of everyone here and all the hard work that's gone into it to achieve an incredible result. And let's see how we go in this final race.
Tom, what's the priority? You say you've sailed fantastically, you've done a great job, but what's going to win this $1 million race?
I mean, you got to think whoever leads to Mark 1, when you got 3 teams like this so good, you got to think that's going to be huge. But having said that, the Kiwis have not had a good event this week. They might be struggling a bit for speed, confidence, I don't know. But us and GBR, I know it's not easy to pass. But yeah, look, we're going to try to start well and then worry about each leg individually.
Well, Tom, they say pressure's a privilege. I'm nervous here, so I don't know how you guys feel out there. Enjoy the race, and I think it's going to be an absolutely fantastic show. Thanks for joining us, Tom.
No worries. Thanks, Stevie. Cheers.
What a beautiful setting, especially if you are Australia, because they are in to the final in a battle for $1 million. So the lineup is set for the Mubadala SailGP Season 3 Grand Final here in San Francisco. It will be the 2-time reigning and defending champions Australia. New Zealand will join them, and Emirates GBR will also be in the field. It'll be very interesting to see how this all plays out, because you have contrasting styles. You have so much experience across the board. They've won at the highest levels of sailing, and we'll have to find out how it all plays out here just in a few minutes' time. The final race of Season 3 with $1 million on the line. But before we get to that, Emily, I think we got to talk about the pros of tomorrow, because there's a lot of talent out on this water as well, and they have certainly put on a show for the fans in between the races that we've seen.
And with that, Todd is talking about the Inspire Racing, which has been happening this week out on the water. We've had 17 young sailors all over the world. Yesterday was their final day of racing. And so we're going to take a bit of a look at what it's like to be an 18 to 24-year-old out on the water racing, surrounded by your heroes. So this was the epic conclusion of the Inspire Racing Grand Final here in San Fran. We had 3 days of racing for the 17 athletes, and they completed 15 races in perfect conditions. Taking the boys' title is Gavin Ball of USA, followed by Brit Duncan Gregor and Francis Hippolyte-Guret. In the girls' fleet, a convincing win by Kiwi Stella Bilger, with Rachel Bechart of Bermuda in second and Noyes Hedvig in third. An amazing opportunity for these talented young sailors, and we look forward to seeing what they do next.
Well, congratulations to all the WASP competitors here on the San Francisco Bay as we get ready for the big grand final. The top three teams battling out, and Tom Slingsby is present everywhere, Stevie.
Well, that's right. He's a big famous guy, and we'll see whether that face is smiling like that in a few minutes.
All 3 teams have given the green light and a clean barrel of health to race as we set it down on the water in Lisa Darmanin.
Well, Tom Slingsby, he put it perfectly. That reach to Mark 1, who rounds there first, is going to be super critical. I think the reason that is because then it gives you options. If you are able to control your race, you can choose where you want to go. I've seen a pattern emerge out here, and I think that left turn at the first gate is so critical. So if you can take that, you have clear air, and then you can choose when you want to do a maneuver on your own time. I think this race course, it is more of a drag race, which does suit the Australians. We've seen the British over the weekend. They're really good at picking the shifts, and they can get back in the race. But the Kiwis, they haven't really shown up so far. So I think it'd be really interesting to see how they come out firing. But right now, I think it's a race between Great Britain and Australia. And that race to Mark 1, we know that pushing hard, going fast is absolutely everything. So it's going to be all high energy out on the racetrack. And let's take a look at at how those drivers are approaching it.
All right, thank you very much, Lisa. More from you as we get ready for the final race of Season 3. This is the grand final here. And let's meet the drivers. Ben Ainsley, well, you got to talk about his Olympic record, the most winningest Olympian ever in sailing with 4 golds, 1 silver. He's got 11 world championships. What he's missing this year is a SailGP win. Can he get it done here on the very final race? Peter Burling also has 3 Olympic medals, one of them gold, 9 world championships, but 2 for 2 in America's Cup campaigns. And he has been up and down this year, but man, he has had some runs of speed. Never count out the Kiwi, Peter Burling and Blair Tuke. They are a dynamic 1-2 team. And of course, the 2-time reigning and defending champion we spoke to just moments ago, Tom Slingsby, with that gold medal from the Olympic Games, 10 world titles and an America's Cup to his credit. He has been the gold standard here for SailGP for the last 2 seasons, looking to make it 3 in a row as he can try to maybe pull off a hat trick here and win all 3 seasons back to back to back.
Well, hey, Jimmy, I hope you can hear us down there on the water. Now, had we been able to fly you back here, we would have done to join us in the commentary booth really quickly. What we want to know is, what does it feel like for these 3 teams out there as they're about to go in this big race? You've raced everyone. If you're a betting man, where's your money going, mate?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, obviously they're just getting ready. The conditions are absolutely perfect right now for this race. I mean, look, if you go off the form guide, you've got to say the Kiwis have really uncharacteristically struggled this event. The Australians and the Brits have looked very, very sharp. And obviously that last race, the Australians looked very, very polished. So, mate, I don't know. Who knows? You know, the beauty of this format is the Kiwis, even though they haven't had a great series, they could just come out and win this race. But going off form, I'd have to give it to the Aussies or the Brits.
Yeah, and Tom Slingsby suggested it's all about who gets to Mark 1 first. Are you with him on that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think once one of these teams, they sail the boats so well that if they are able to get to Mark 1 in first place, it would be pretty strange for them to make a mistake from then on in. But look, who knows? I mean, it's San Francisco Bay and anything can happen.
Jimmy, so thankful for your insights there. I hope you look forward to watching the race yourself.
Yeah, thanks. And hey, who are you guys picking?
I'm going Australia with you, Jimmy.
Give me GBR.
Okay, copy. GBR, there we go. Yeah, oh, well, now the Kiwis will probably do it.
Exactly.
Well, Ben Ainsley is one of the all-time legends of sailing.
Getting involved with team ownership, that really is something that a lot of the athletes now, myself included, are looking to.
The reason I took the franchise was I believe in SailGP commercially.
It's a business model that the rest of us are very keen to understand how he makes it work.
I was sponsored for many years by JP Morgan with my Olympic sailing, and I was trying to get them to upgrade, and we ended up at this dinner, maybe a couple hundred people. Towards the end of the dinner, he says, "Ben, do you dance?" And I had this thought in my mind, you know, do I say no and sort of risk endangering this deal? To huge embarrassment, I got on the dance floor, and it was definitely one of the most awkward experiences in my life. We didn't get the deal, so it was embarrassment for nothing, but it's certainly something I'll never forget.
Any Grand Prix is an opportunity to show potential sponsors that have almost signed the dotted line what they can do out on the racetrack. For Dubai, it was an opportunity for Ben Ainsley to get his new sponsorship with Emirates over the line.
We're leading coming into the finish of the final race.
Great Britain have missed the foil drop. Massive mistake.
And, you know, at that moment, I thought, wow, you know, that could have just cost us this sponsorship deal with Emirates.
Yeah, it's just awesome to see teams having good commercial success. I don't think Ben's won a race yet this season, but maybe he's saving his best for the end.
Yeah, it's a massive moment for our team.
I think it caught a lot of people by surprise that he was able to get Emirates to back his team.
I couldn't possibly tell you how much money I'm making with this deal. It's not all of the money, but it gets us a long way there, which is fantastic.
Well, the two-time reigning and defending champion Australians are back in the final again and have the most experience. But according to sailing legend Nathan Outridge, it will take more than just experience to emerge victorious in the always challenging conditions of the San Francisco Bay here at event 11 of season 3 as we bring down the curtain on another amazing year of racing.
These three teams are, full of professionals, and I've been trying to think about who might be feeling the pressure today, and I actually don't think it's any of the drivers. I think it comes down to flight controllers today. That reach is the most important part of the day, and we say this time and time again, but whoever flies the boat higher is going to get more performance out of the boat on the reach. So I expect that Jace and Andy and Parker are going to be into the caffeine chewing gum before the start, just getting their nervous twitch going, and whoever basically is the most confident on the flight control is going to help the team.
So with the field now being whittled down to only the top 3 teams, the tactics have changed immensely. Suddenly, there is plenty of room at the start, but can you translate space into a lead at Mark 1 and beyond and walk away with a $1 million payoff for you and your team?
It's going to be a straight line track racing here in well position, but New Zealand are holding on.
When you go from 9 boats to 3, there is so much more space. The blue line indicates the best place to start, and here in the Christchurch final, you can see each team jostling to get that spot. Canada on the inside line have all the rights. They can push Australia and New Zealand up, and they have the ability to turn first at Mark 1, but it's hard to push through the disturbed wind. Australia have to react to either team and aren't committing to any side of the course.
Great start by Phil Robertson under pressure. He's in a good position.
Meanwhile, New Zealand have the ability to steal the wind of their competitors, but have to wait for them to turn.
Ready? What's it? We are right down at the bottom, I think.
So each position has its pros and cons, and executing your plan is the most important aspect of the grand final.
So you've met the drivers. Now let's take this opportunity to meet the entire crew as we come up on 3 minutes to go before the grand final and the $1 million race as we wrap up season 3 here with SailGP. And Steve, you got to talk about Emirates GBR, the momentum they've carried into this event. They look extremely fast. And of course, Ben Ainsley knows these waters maybe better than anyone else.
Yeah, I think it's always, this race is going to be about dealing with pressure, and when you look at that lineup, there's so many Olympic gold medals there. Hannah Mills is the strategist. I think she's got a big role. I think all the strategists have got a huge role to try and spot the wind and try and keep the focus big picture wise, keep the drivers out of the short-term game. But there, Luke Parkinson, flight controller. Nathan Outridge was putting the pressure on the flight controllers, and Luke Parkinson, he often says he wants to set the carbon on fire by flying these boats so hard and getting so much speed out of the boat. So expect Luke to not be afraid to take a lot of risk on flight control.
And Emily, we talk about experience, especially at the highest level. You got to look at the Kiwis. Maybe hasn't been their best season, but man, they are so talented across the board.
I'm going to stay on the side of I'm not writing them off yet. The Kiwis haven't had the best event so far, but they are starting right now with a clean slate. Nothing that's happened this weekend matters anymore. New start. Throughout the season, they have performed extremely well and are consistently one of the fastest teams on the water. They have a really solid crew lineup here. It's pretty consistent from event to event. Liv Mackay back on strategy. She's very, very experienced sailor, so is definitely going to be head out of the boats and making sure that Pete and Blair are going in the right direction.
And the big question, Stevie, that everyone wants to know, with under 90 seconds to go now, can the Aussies make it a three-peat?
100% they can. I think any of the teams, as we've heard, if they get to Mark 1, they can make it. But you see the experience. We talk about the pressure of this event. I mentioned a minute ago the pressure to be there is a privilege. And, even the grinders, Kinley Fowler, Sam Newton, multiple world champions in different classes. Jason Waterhouse, he has delivered on that first reach under pressure. They've all been here and won. They know how to do it, but can they do it again? It's devil's in the detail right now. It's all on. And here we go. I can't wait to see this take place.
Under a minute to go before the grand final here in San Francisco. This is the Mubadala SailGP Season 3 Grand Final. This is a race for $1 million.
Interesting change of tactics already here. Great Britain are late into the box right now, and New Zealand, they're aggressive. They've turned in close to Australia. The Kiwis have a little bit of control over the Australians at the moment. They're well back from the line. Ainsley's going to have a chance to set up on them, but it's all about timing. Can you be at top speed when the line goes white? That's what we're looking for now. Aggressive from Slingsby, dives across, looking for that inside position. They're going to be fighting back to the line and expect the Kiwis to be separated from the other two boats at the start. Ainsley's hooked. Ainsley's going to be slow and driven off out the back on board Great Britain at the moment. So aggressive from Slingsby. I think the best two starts are going to be New Zealand and Australia for here. Watch for the line to turn white. How's your timing? We go in the $1 million race here in San Francisco. What a start. Australia and New Zealand perfect. It's New Zealand with a slightly faster angle to Mark 1, but Slingsby's going to be on the holding on the inside, and he will control things at Mark 1. Ainsley's got work to do on board Great Britain.
So with just 3 boats out on the bay, the battle is on. Mark number 1, it's Australia and New Zealand as the old rivals get together one more time.
New Zealand must keep clear. Slingsby's aggressive. This is an opportunity for Ainsley. Ainsley will be back in the race here at Mark 1, but the Australians lead. They have control of the first decision, and it's now a test of speed. Which one of those flight controllers is going to be brave enough to fly the boat highest? Expect Ainsley to be the first to turn the British boat away.
And look at those speeds approaching 70 kilometers an hour. There you see Great Britain on the left side of your screen, Australia right in the middle as we ride on board with the Kiwis.
Setting up in the background of the British crew there. No control for the Kiwis at the moment. They're really much reliant on the other boats turning away. First to go, it's Emirates GBR. Second, it's going to be Australia, and it's how well lined up they are for Gate 2. We heard from Lisa, and we've seen in both races that at Gate 2, it's been favourable to turn left. Can the British make it down here with no more manoeuvres? If not, then it should be controlled to Slingsby early on in this $1 million race. 44-metre lead right now. Wonder what the heart rate is, Todd. Mine's pretty high.
Emily, how far out are they already looking at what direction they're going to turn?
They'll be constantly thinking about 1 move, 2 moves, 3 moves ahead of them. They're going to be thinking even about the next gate after this one.
They'll have decided that before the start, 100%. If we're leading, we want to turn left. That will be in a set play situation here. But for the boats behind, they're already taking second pickings here, Todd. But we're early in the race, so it's about keeping it tight right now. But look at the boat speed on board the Australians.
Be going a right turn. Great. Happy to be a little fast, nothing major.
What's Tom Slingsby seen? We thought they liked left turn early. Slingsby wants to minimise the number of manoeuvres here. The water's getting choppier, it's tight. New Zealand and Great Britain have the right of way. That was a close cross for the Kiwis. Be interesting if anything comes of that.
Everyone's going right.
They are all setting up for a right where it saves you a manoeuvre by going right. Every time they turn the boat, you slow down. So they're saving a manoeuvre going right, but don't be surprised to see the Kiwis take a different choice when we get down the bottom here, as they're now well out the back of the fleet and they need a miracle from here. Maybe not a miracle, but they've got to find more wind from here.
Well, we've seen this before at gate number 2 with Australia out in front and in control. There you see the wind speeds at the top. They're traveling right around 57 kilometers an hour and the wind holding right under 30 kilometers an hour. So we'll see in the upwind how they handle it, and it's the Brits the first ones to make the turn.
They were just following behind the Australians, so they would have been in disturbed wind going a bit slower there, Todd. So their option was to move away. I think for New Zealand, they've got to hope that Australia engages Great Britain.
New Zealand offshore, slightly less pressure than the boats close inshore, so that's good news for Australia at the moment.
It's going to be a tight race here, though. The Australians are keeping it tight. They want to be trying to travel in the same direction as the boat in second place. So right now, they've both got the wind coming over the left-hand side of the boat on board Great Britain and Australia. New Zealand, well, they're going the other way, but over 150 metres behind on our ladder lines. We can see they've got a bit of work to do.
Leg 3 of 6 on the $1 million race, the final race of season number 3 as we go down under the water, and Lisa Darmanin.
Well, it is certainly patchy out here, which means that there's lots of little pressure pockets around the race course. So I know I was saying I thought one way worked, but I think staying flexible out here during this race is everything. The other thing is later in the day, it's choppier out to sea, so I think they might be searching for flatter water to hit higher speeds as well.
Textbook positioning by Tom Slingsby here. We can see the wind is coming from the right-hand side of our screen. It will be deflecting off the Australian wing, and it will be turbulent by the time it reaches Great Britain. That'll be slowing them down.
Our move is to match Ben on the next one, but it's going to work a bit of height, yeah.
When he says match, he wants to be directly lined up with them, Todd. He wants to be going the same way. If you can sail in the same patch of wind and you're confident of your speed, as the Australians are, then there's a very little chance for the British to get by.
And why wouldn't they right now? Look at the speeds at 55 kilometers an hour going upwind. They've got almost a 200-meter lead on Great Britain, who sits in second, and the Kiwis still having their issues in third.
Kiwis have got to find a bit of space and try and get away from the other boats, but that's just not easy.
Australia's gap is growing all the time. They are, on average, the fastest boat on the course, although that's not.
Oh, they're off the foils, Emily. They've fallen off the foils. They said it's a bit light here. They're out of breeze. This is going to be a huge opportunity. Look at the ride height. They're only 12 centimetres above the water. They're off the foils. The lead's coming down all the time here. They're back up to speed. Heart in the mouth moment for Australians here. It could be control back to the British. When they turn, Great Britain will have the right of way. Tom Slingsby will need to be confident that he's clear ahead as we approach gate 3.
And that mistake cost the Australians half their lead. It was 200 meters. It's now down to 100 meters. There you see the Australians at the top of your screen. Great Britain at the bottom.
Oh, we just don't see mistakes. So that's pressure, Todd, right there. But it's a good recovery, and it sounded calm on board the Australians. Expect to see the Australians turn directly in front of Ainsley again to try and get control of this race again. He was stretching away. It was looking easy for a moment. Wow, good recovery by Australia, but it shows us one mistake and this final could flip on its head.
The breeze inside, lifting, taking the height quickly here. We're going to go right turn. You can. Okay. Okay.
Interesting. Slingsby on board there saying he wants to take right turn. He's happy to do another manoeuvre. There just seems to be less wind right now in towards San Francisco shoreline. Australia fell off the foils, lost a lot of distance. He knows Ainsley's going to take a right turn because he can't make it in one. So again, he keeps himself in the same patch of water as Emirates GBR by taking this right turn. So an extra manoeuvre, but an awful lot more control for the Australian boat right now.
So the Australians are around safely, and they've got a nice lead. And now look at the speed on the top of the mast, coming up on 64 kilometers an hour in first place.
Todd, with 2 long legs and a short sprint to the finish away from $1 million. How's your heart rate on board that Australian boat right now?
The lead now back up to 200 meters, and New Zealand opts to go inshore.
Yeah, here we go. We're going to go on board Australia here and listen in. What's in Slingsby's mind right now?
Keep your ass set up. High rake, moving hard. Okay, coming into pressure and 5 here, guys. Let's just smooth it out. Hey, follow, they're on our line.
Voice of Tash Bryant at the back there, talking about where the British are. They're on our line. That's just what you dream of hearing as the tactician and driver in Tom Slingsby. They're just follow me here. I then can just trust Kyle Langford as the wing trimmer, trust Jason Waterhouse, the flight controller. I know they're the best in the business. I know they can keep the boat going as fast as these others. So at the moment, it's just a case of trying to keep this Australian boat lined up with Great Britain, and it's a team job.
This is leg 4 of 6, the grand final here in San Francisco, and it's the 2-time reigning and defending champions out in front. But look at this, the Kiwis have now moved into second place ahead of Great Britain.
Big gain. They found more wind in by the shore. It hadn't been there before, but Burling spotted it, and he's now back within 100 metres.
And that's the summary from that previous leg. The Australians really on form. Even with that touchdown close to the shore, they still had the highest average speed and sailed less distance. You can't get better than that.
No, that's what you want right there. And Emirates Great Britain, they've dropped off. The Kiwis are fast, some 7 kilometres an hour faster than the Australians, but crucially, still 100 metres behind, and all the boats are going to look well lined up for a right turn. And if everyone follows Australia, that'll be good news for the Australians. What trick has Pete Burling got left up his sleeve to try and drag a rabbit from a hat at the end of this final here?
Still work to do here on leg number 4. It'll be around this next gate, then to the top of the course. And as Stevie pointed out, a quick sprint to the finish line and the $1 million prize. It's the 2-time defending champions out in front. New Zealand, though, have found speed late. Look at that. They're going 60 kilometers an hour, just almost even with the Australians. Can they reel them in, Stevie? This may come down to one final mistake.
Well, if anyone makes a mistake, that's going to be it. But the crucial move here is Burling is taking the left turn at the bottom. He maybe thinks he's seen more wind the other way. This is really probably his only move, to split the course, hope he gets more wind. If he finds more wind, he'll be faster. Just 9 seconds needed to claw back on this final upwind leg, and it's now a strategist game. Who's found more wind? Slingsby, quick to turn the boat, trying to get himself back over and closer to the New Zealand boat. And it's going to be all about who's read the wind best at this stage. That low drag position on board Australia there. So there we just heard from Carl Langford, it's going to lift. That's great news for them. That means the wind's going to turn to the left and start to bring them more directly up the ladder line. Great news, should be a gain, showing us a gain at the moment, and expect a bit of a repeat, Todd, of what we saw on the last upwind.
So, Stevie, is this a case of Australia and Tom Slingsby? They are going to match whatever the Kiwis are doing in Peter Burling?
Yeah, I think so. Look, off the foils, Great Britain, there just seems to be less wind in by the shore. It's easy to fall off the foil. There we go. Straight lines himself up with Burling. Burling's got to manoeuvre soon to try and keep this race alive. You've got to move. As soon as the Australians move, Burling needs to move and try and get a mistake out of the Australians. Every time you manoeuvre, there's a potential to... Here we go. The Kiwis turn one more time. What does Australia do here? I wouldn't be going too far towards San Francisco shoreline now. Got to be a manoeuvre for Australia soon here.
Speed still good on for Australia at 53 kilometers an hour. Similar for New Zealand. The lead now 100 meters as they get ready to make the left-hand turn at the next gate at mark number 5, and then it'll be the sprint to the finish line.
Crucially, the Australians stayed on their foil in that manoeuvre. That was where they fell off their foil last time. They've stayed foiling. That doesn't give much of an opportunity yet. Still 100 metres in it. Still the New Zealand boat needs to throw manoeuvres at Australia and try and make another mistake on that Australian boat, or it's going to be the three-peat. There's only a few hundred metres to go here, Todd.
And that lead is growing from Australia. Over 100 metres lead now.
Stand by there, keep the build on.
Here we go, 600 metres of this upwind leg left to mark 5. Then that short sprint to the finish. The race is getting closer, but Slingsby's not willing to give Burling any space. Again, lines himself up parallel. It's now just a question of boat speed, and we know the Australian boat's fast. What's Burling got up his sleeve? Surely one more manoeuvre from the Kiwis.
Got to get it going here. Heads out, slingers, big transition coming. Yeah. Yeah, we're losing big time here. Just got to get the boat going.
Big transition coming. What he means by that is there's a change in the wind speed. There's a big change coming. We've got to re-accelerate the boat. And look, they have. Top of the mast, matching boat speeds. 2 more manoeuvres for all the crews here. New Zealand make it first. Australia will go straight in front of him. It's all about whether anyone makes a mistake now, Todd. This is Australia's to lose.
Great Britain out of the picture there, 200 meters behind the Kiwis in second place. And look at this, Australia pulls it down.
Oh, he's got to stay above 30. Oh my Lord, he's off the foils. This is giving New Zealand a chance. He's going to have to turn again, and he's going to be slow when he turns. Advantage New Zealand here. This could go to the wire, Todd. Australia have got to keep clear here. New Zealand stay on the foils. What do Australia do? They're going to struggle to stay foiling on board Australia. On the inside, it's New Zealand. New Zealand, if they can get over that, wow, no. Slingsby holds on. He leads at mark 5. Oh.
First to the circle, and Australia has priority, and the Kiwis, and now it is an absolute drag race for $1 million. The 2-time reigning and defending champions. They can see the finish line. The checkered flag is there. The Kiwis are going to run out of water. The Australian dynasty is still intact, and the three-peat is now complete.
Have you ever seen anything like that? I mean, Tom, oh my word, what? I thought he'd blown it. How they pulled off that second manoeuvre into the final mark 5 at such a low speed and get straight back on the foils. Oh, I thought somehow Burling had pulled it out of the hat. What a race for the $1 million. That pretty much had it all, but you've got to say, the best team over the season has won, and I think there's a certain fairness in that.
Absolutely, Tom Slingsby saved his most clutch moment for the last 30 seconds of this race, because, Emily, it looked like Australia, when they put it down, it was done, because New Zealand is coming on them strong, and he gets it back up.
I know, and after New Zealand's weekend, you know, they've underperformed, and then all of a sudden, last moment, it brought it out of the bag, but just didn't quite manage it.
Oh, what a performance. Tom Slingsby. Stevie, we've seen him do this time and time again. Just when you think he's out, he comes back.
Yeah, I mean, the Kiwis were, you know, they sailed a poor first lap, and then the last lap they sailed was incredible. Pieced it all together. They were charging back at Australia, and they did that other turn there, and it just came down to millimeters. But he got it done, and you've got to take your hat off.
The grand final results are now complete. It is Australia, now the 3-time reigning and defending champions in SailGP and $1 million Richard. New Zealand comes in second place, and it was so close with Emirates GBR. They made the grand final, just did not have an answer for the Aussies. So the celebration is going to continue on well into the night and into the morning back in Australia, as Tom Slingsby has delivered, Emily, yet again. It was textbook match racing, and he is the master.
Before the race, all of the skippers said how important it was going to be to get to Mark 1 first. And straight away, the Aussies were fighting hard for that chance, taking out the Brits at the earliest opportunity, slowing them right down and really pushing them behind at the start. You can see this gap just growing between them as Australia and New Zealand accelerate towards the line. At the gun, GBR was 70 meters behind and 20 kilometers an hour slower, giving it away to the Aussies and Kiwis.
Well, we saw that he took out the great British crew before the start, but then so aggressive again approaching Mark 1. He pushed the Kiwi boat off the course, sailed them up, which allowed him to extend away, put the Kiwis back into a fight, and look at that. If the New Zealand boat had been a metre further forward in that instant there, he might have got round the front, and that could have been the $1 million moment. It was for Australia, and once again, Slingsby's delivered the millimetres to win the millions.
Season 3 is now complete. It is Australia once again on top of the board. New Zealand in second, Emirates GBR finishing in third, with France, Canada, Denmark, the United States, Switzerland, and Spain. And there are rumors that another team is on their way, so we look forward to Season 4 and a possibility of 10 teams racing in SailGP, which means the action at the line in Mark number 1 is just going to get that much better. Once again, though, we have to congratulate Australia, who get the win. They have dominated 3 seasons of SailGP, and they do it again here in San Francisco, California, and claim the $1 million prize. Now we go on board with Australia. We've done it 3 times before. We'll do it again. Tom Slingsby, congratulations once again. So many key moments in that race, but be honest with us. When you came down right before Mark number 5 and you guys put both holes in the water, you cannot tell me that was planned.
That was not the plan. God, I thought we lost it. God, I thought we lost it.
So did we, Tom.
We had it the whole way, and they just... Yeah, that was crazy. I was pretty, very scared. But yeah, I was thinking this could be the biggest choke of all time right now. But fortunately, we were able to get over the line, and yeah, just what a race.
Tom, I mean, we heard you say we're all good just at that mark. You didn't look all good, but you pulled it all together. A word for your crew that you've sailed with all season. We've seen, you know, we've seen so many people join the crew. Ed Powers stepped up, Kinley Fowler, Sam Newton, Tash Bryant, all the people you've had on the boat over the season. What's this team like to work with?
Yeah, I'd be rude if I'm going to have to leave some people out, but for sure, Ed Powers is our spare sailor. We've got Kinley Fowler at the front our grinder, Sam Newton grinding, Jason Waterhouse on flight control, Kyle Langford and Tash Bryant, and what a job all year. Like, it's kind of the story where you can win everything and then lose the last race, but the fact that we got the job done today, just a huge testament to these people. And I haven't won anything in the last 10 years basically without these people next to me. You might see my name up in lights, but it's always with these people right behind me. So I'm so thankful to have such an amazing team.
Tom, was there any point in this season where you said, okay, we had a great run, we won 2 years in a row, but just third season's just not going to be it for us.
Nah, not one part, mate. Not a chance. But I mean, our run's going to come to an end eventually, but we just want to extend it for as long as we can.
Hey, congratulations, Tom. We appreciate all the time you've given us throughout the year, and go and celebrate with your team. Season 3 champions. Once again, you pull off the three-peat.
Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone who watched and all our supporters. Thank you.
Cheers. Guys, it's hard to imagine that they did this with the level of talent, Emily, that they face every regatta, and they were able to do it again. I'm amazed at how clutch they are.
It is extremely impressive, but like you said, he's been sailing with them for the past 10 years. They are so dialed in to sailing together.
Stevie, as a sailor, it doesn't get much better than this, does it?
As a sailor, when you know the number of variables they're dealing with out there, and it comes down to one race, it comes down to probably 2 or 3 seconds on that start line. They've done it 3 times in a row. Perfectly honest, it's mind-blowing.
You'll hear Aussie, Aussie, Aussie throughout the night in San Francisco and back down under as they get the win. As Andrew Thompson, the managing director of SailGP, brings in the hardware that Team Australia has owned for the last 2 years, make it 3 years now.
What a moment.
Yeah, that's a lot of work being paid off right there, and you do not want to drop that one. That's going to go right to the bottom of the bay if you lose grip of that.
That is not the place to be dropping your trophy. That is for absolute sure, Todd. But there you go, this big moment there, the champagne moment, and well-deserved. You know, word for the other finalists for New Zealand, for Great Britain. They put up one heck of a season, one heck of a race. I mean, it was spectacle. And New Zealand, wow, I mean, millimetres in it. They were nearly back in that.
So the celebration out on the bay continues, and for the 3rd year in a row, it is Australia SailGP that's doing the celebrating.
Well, of course, things started yesterday, and it was all about the race to the final. Yesterday, it was a masterclass from Ainsley in the match racing type style. He really managed to throw the French off their game. Contant de la Pierre, who's had probably one of the standout seasons, really. But it came out today. We were lining ourselves up for that grand final, and there was drama aplenty. We wanted to get 3 boats to the final. We did. We had some pretty big crashes, Emily.
I'd say that's the most noticeable thing about this event and the past couple ones. The level of aggressiveness has really stepped it up, just showing the level of competition we are at. And that says a lot about what is going to happen next season.
Yeah, well, season 4, that's going to be some spectacle. But without doubt, Todd, the Aussies, when they needed to, did deliver under an awful lot of pressure. And this was the moment here. He came in, an aggressive match race manoeuvre on Ainsley. We were talking about Ainsley yesterday, but it was sling speed delivered. And then for good measure, he went and got the other boat in the 3-boat final, America's Cup winner, Olympic gold medalist Peter Burling, and gave him a nudge off the course. That threw the New Zealand crew well back in the fleet, and of course he needed every one of those millimetres, because right there he fell off the foils. New Zealand were faster into this final turn, but somehow they just needed to get overlapped on board New Zealand, and at this point Tom Slingsby said, we're okay. That was some call, but turns out he was right, and that was the $1 million moment.
Well, we want to remind you, Season 4 kicks off in Chicago. That's June 16th and 17th on Lake Michigan. You won't want to miss that. And before we say goodbye, a big thanks to Rick Dobie, who experience and vision has taken our SailGP telecast to the next level. Rick, your hard work and passion has elevated the coverage of this sport to the next level. So cheers to you, good sir. So, on behalf of Stevie Morrison, Emily Nagel, Lisa Darmanin, and our entire hardworking crew, I'm Todd Harris. Congratulations to Australia once again. They are Season 3 champions. We will see you in Chicago for Season 4.
One shot, now the future is yours.
And welcome to Bermuda.
Clear start, but look at the speed on the Australians.
Penalty GBR.
2 in a row for the Kiwis.
99 kilometers an hour.
One chance at best, yes. Big pitches for the course, you keep the pressure.
Great Britain have missed the foil drop. The inside goes to Slingsby. Someone's overboard.
Content de la Pierre pulls a rabbit out of his hat. First SailGP victory.
These teams are pushing the very limits here. It's all about to get a bit serious, Tom.
The battle is on. The Australian dynasty is still intact, and the three-peat is now complete.